Trouble yourself not with the cost of this crusade. Its noble end affords you broad tolerance in your choice of means.
And welcome back to more Darkest Dungeon. This is episode 12, week 26, getting underway. So last episode we had ventured into the Cove and dealt with the first boss there, the Siren, and had quite a difficult time of it, but mostly due to the suboptimal party composition that I contend is somewhat required in order to be successful against the Siren. And now for this episode, we're going back into the Cove, and we're going to attempt the second boss there, the Sodden Crew. And wait till you see this party composition, Dev. It even has a nickname. We're going with not one, not two, but 3 Crusaders and a Vestal. Accordingly, it is called Holier Than Thou. So as you've probably realized by now, I enjoy the leapfrogging Crusader tactic with Holy Lance. And it's going to come in handy because the boss in here, the Sodden Crew, is an unholy enemy, so we will benefit from the bonus damage versus unholy that the Holy Lance gives. Now as for the third Crusader, our trusty ally Reynald, who's in the first position, what's he going to be doing, right? Well, the Crusader has a basic melee attack called Smite, and it also does bonus damage versus unholy. So similarly to the other 2 Crusaders with Holy Lance, he'll be able to chip in and do some good damage against the boss. Now as for healing, we have a Vestal. So obviously that's covered because they're, simply put, the best healer in the game. As far as stress healing goes, we don't have any one great stress healer, but having 3 Crusaders with their mediocre stress heal should be plenty. Now as for trinkets, pretty straightforward stuff, increasing maximum health, dodge, melee crit, accuracy, etc., increasing stun chance on the Vestal, all very basic stuff. The only kind of strategic wrinkle to it is with the 2 Crusaders who are going to be leapfrogging. And if you recall, whenever you use a leapfrog type of tactic, you want the hero who's positioned further back to go first. And to do that, or at least increase your chances of that happening, you can use trinkets which increase that hero's speed, and or you can use trinkets that decrease the speed of the hero who you want to go second. And this composition, in contrast to last episodes, is not only capable, it's extremely capable, and perhaps surprisingly so. You know, at first blush, you might look at 3 Crusaders and think, wow, that's not going to be very quick or very efficient. But in fact it is. Holy Lance and Smite do really good damage, even versus non-unholy type enemies. And as far as defense goes, they're just built like a truck, you know what I mean? Crusaders have some of the biggest health point pools in the game, so they're very hard to damage and get in trouble, at least health-wise. Stress-wise, this would probably be about the only weakness this group has. Again, there's plenty of stress healing with 3 Crusaders, but if you need to use more than 1 Crusader across more than 1 turn in order to heal up your stress and whatnot, it can end up slowing down the pace quite a bit. But all in all, a very strong, very capable group, and they're a lot of fun to play.
Prying eyes had become a nuisance along the old road, and so I undertook to receive my most curious deliveries by way of marine shipments. A sheltered jetty was accessible by a narrow stone stair off the back of the manor, and a discreet system of pulleys could hoist even the heaviest prizes up the rock face from a securely tied dinghy below. The poor devils, chained and drowning for eternity.
Alright, so here we are into the Cove to kill the Sodden Crew. Let's have a look at the map, Devatron. Nice scouting check to start things off. And a pretty easy map because there is only one room that the boss can be in. So we don't have to, you know, always guess left, Devatron. So you notice here, I go one direction, I go back, I go another, I go back. All I'm doing is checking what these first curios are down each of the hallways, because if there's something good, then I'll go ahead and click them or loot them, but if they're not, I'll just skip them.
As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. Decimated. A dizzying blow to body and brain. Obliterated. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless.
Alright, so there you have it. Immediately you can see just how much damage these guys can do. Admittedly, there were some big crits in there, and you can't always rely on getting critical strikes. But yeah, they can do a ton of damage, no problem. And I'm just loving all these scouting checks. You can see just how much easier it makes doing a dungeon. The reason why we're having more success with it is that one of the heroes has a trinket which increases scouting by 10%, and another hero has a quirk called Cove Explorer which increases scouting by 10%. So a nice high chance to scout, and it's paying off big time.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born. Destroyed. Annihilated. Well struck. Eradicated. Soothed. Sedated. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
And yet another scouting check here. and we can see that there is only one room battle between here and the boss, so we can go ahead and camp without having to worry about losing our camping buffs on fights before we get to the boss.
Gathered close in tenuous firelight and uneasy companionship.
Okay, as for camping skills, we used one on Reynald called Unshakable Leader. It gives him a reduction to incoming stress by 25%. Here we're going to prevent a nighttime ambush, which is always smart. And then I'm going to use a couple Vestal skills on Reynald. One of them's called Chant. It'll further decrease his incoming stress by 20%. And then I'm also going to use one called Bless, which buffs his accuracy and dodge by 10 each. So as you can probably infer from all these stress reduction buffs on Reynald, he's going to be taking a lot of stress in the upcoming boss fight. And by reducing that by 45%, that's almost half of what he would ordinarily take without the buffs. It's going to end up helping quite a bit. Okay, a nice buff from the ship's figurehead curio there. That's why I waited until after we camped, because if I got the buff before we camped, then it would just be erased once we slept, right? So this is going to also help out big time against the boss. It increases damage by 20% and speed by +4. So a really nice buff to have going into a boss fight.
The promise of safety. Disadvantage. Give them no quarter. Death waits for the slightest lapse in concentration. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Impressive. Continue the onslaught. destroy them all.
Okay, so all clear to the boss. And a fun fact, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but I changed the color of each Crusader's outfit so that when they're in their default party order, from right to left, it would go red, white, and blue. You know, Team America Devatron.
The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
All right, so here we are. A very easy run getting here. I was pleased with that. And let's go with Team America, holier than thou, the Sodden Crew Devatron.
Even in death, the captain shouts his orders, and the crew obeys. Devastating blow. They are cursed to float forever, deep in the swirling blackness, far beyond the light's reach.
Oh yeah, too easy, Devatron. That was some big-time boss fighting there. Yeah, there are actually mechanics to that fight that you didn't even get to see, because that drowned polar, that little guy in the front, we stunned him first of all, and then Reynald dodged his attack called Heave 2, so we'll just have to wait until we do it on the veteran level and you can see it more in its entirety and all its dangerousness. For now, we got through it. Fear of Mankind. We're going to have to get rid of that. Cove Adventurer on Duval. Bad Gambler? Who cares about that? This is Darkest Dungeon, Devatron. Siren down, Sodden Crew down. The Cove is clear for now. We'll see you in the next episode.